Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Father Ted Talks Faith in Action. Today's practical question that I wanted to answer, which a lot of people ask me, and also, something that priests also are very wary of, is how to receive Holy Communion properly. And I don't mean how to prepare for Holy Communion, because of course we've done a separate video for that as far as our spiritual preparation. I'm talking about the practical aspect of actually going up in the communion line to receive. Now, this sounds like maybe a very basic question, like we watch everybody else do it. How difficult can it be to go up and receive Holy Communion? But I want to show a few aspects of it, because sometimes there can be some situations where if we don't pay attention on how to receive Holy Communion, we can actually cause an accident with the spilling of the body and blood of Christ, God forbid, and or other types of etiquette that might cause problems within the communion line. So the first thing that I would like to say is that, of course, when we're going up for Holy Communion, number one is we should always listen to the instructions of the priest, right? Because different parishes might do it differently. The most standard way of approaching Holy Communion is usually from the center aisle of a church. You might see it in some parishes, practically speaking. There might be reasons for it, that people are coming from the side. Maybe there's two priests, maybe there's two chalices, whatever the case might be. But traditionally speaking, people come from the center aisle. Why? Because if Holy Communion is Christ himself, we always approach Christ forward, right? We don't approach from the side. Why? Because if we approach from the side and receive Holy Communion, then we would have to exit from the center aisle, and then we are turning our back both to the altar and also turning our back to Christ. And this is not as respectful. So we tend to come from the center aisle towards Christ with reverence to receive Holy Communion, and we exit from the side. In this way, we are not turning our back to Christ. So that's the first thing. We usually come from the center. But we should listen to whatever our local priest tells us to do, and to follow the directions of him and the church council, the ushers and the board, who are kind of helping the people during the difficult time of Holy Communion, when usually it's very, very busy in a parish. The second thing is, of course, is to be respectful, to be prayerful, to be patient. Of course, in many parishes where they're very, very big, it does take time. You have to wait in line for Holy Communion. It is not a time to get angry. It is not a time to gossip. It is not a time to judge others who are in the communion line. It is not a time to be impatient, to move fast. If the line is going slow, it's even more of an opportunity for you to pray. Do the Jesus prayer, or if you know the pre-communion prayers off by heart, recite them in your head. This is a very important time while the chanter or the choir is singing the beautiful communion prayer hymns. The Kinoniko, as we call it, is a beautiful time, even if you're waiting for a long time in the communion line, to prepare yourself, to calm your mind and your soul, and to be able to approach Christ with reverence and with humility and with calmness. So be calm in the communion line. Do not fight. If we're fighting, or if we're having conflict with board members or with other people in the line, chances are we probably shouldn't be receiving Holy Communion at that time, because we've kind of upset our spiritual state at that time, and we are judging, we are doing things that are quite literally the antithesis of receiving Holy Communion. So again, don't push, be calm, be patient, and follow the instructions of your board members and of your priest. When we come up to receive Holy Communion from the chalice, there are kind of two different things that you might see in parishes. In some parishes, you might see people do this. They cross their hands over their chest and open their mouths to receive Holy Communion. In other parishes, they don't do this. And it's okay if it's either or, but the reason why in some parishes, especially in North America, they've been told to do this is that not because it's a religious symbol or it's a spiritual practice to cross your hands, but rather so that your hands are not free to potentially hit the chalice that the priest is holding. So I'll explain why. This is the chalice, right? There is nothing in it right now, of course. This is the liturgical spoon, the la vida that we use, and this is the chalice that we use for Holy Communion. There are different sizes, there are different shapes, and on Sunday, this is usually what the priest will be holding with the spoon. And in addition to the spoon and the chalice, which will have the blood, the wine, right, and the bread, the body, which is mixed in, broken up into pieces, and the priest is giving Holy Communion in this way. In addition to these two things, he also has what is called in Greek the machtro. And the machtro is basically a red cloth. It is called the communion cloth. It looks like this. It's usually made out of cotton or sometimes polyester, but usually cotton because it absorbs. And this cloth is there to protect the Holy Communion from falling on the ground. We do not want even a drop of the blood of Christ or the body, a piece of the body, to fall on the ground. It is the most precious thing that we have. It is the most important thing in the universe for Orthodox Christians. And so the priest is tasked with protecting the body and blood and making sure that the only place that it goes is into the parishioner's mouth, and that's it. It cannot fall on the ground. It cannot fall on the carpet. It cannot fall on parishioners' clothing or shirts or blouses or sweaters or anything like that. If it does fall on the ground, then unfortunately the priest, out of reverence, has to bend down and eat it, consume it right off the ground, because we do not allow the body and blood of Christ to be trodden underfoot by people or stepped upon. And so it's not good for us to allow the Holy Communion to fall. And so this is why you'll see a lot of priests, they are very, very careful when they're giving Holy Communion, and they may have the chalice, they might hold the chalice very, very close to themselves. They might hold it right here near their chest, right here. And the cloth will be usually held by an altar server next to them, who will create a bridge from the chalice to the person's chin, so that there's a bridge protecting the Holy Communion as the priest gives, okay? So that there is never a time where there is open space between the spoon coming from the chalice to the person's mouth, right? So this is there to protect, and if, God forbid, there is a drop that falls on to the cloth, the priest, or maybe a piece of the body might fall onto the cloth, the priest can consume it and continue communing. And if drops of the blood fall on this, then these special cloths are washed later, but they are washed in the special ground well, which is called the choneftiri. And the choneftiri is a special sink we have in the back of the altar that does not exit into the sewer system of the city, but it is a ground well that goes directly into the foundations of the church. And this special one sink that we have in the back, it is used to wash these types of cloths, just in case there is any blood from Christ, from communion, or holy things like holy water or holy oil that need to be washed out of different fabrics or things like that, liturgical fabrics. It is washed in that special place. So again, a reminder that when we come up for Holy Communion, because now that I've explained how important and how kind of dangerous it is for the priest to protect the chalice, is that when we come up for Holy Communion, the priest will be here, and the person should come up, but not go too close. They shouldn't be too far either, but they should be close enough, but their hands should not be waving around. A lot of people out of piety might come up and do a metania and try to do their cross. This is dangerous near the chalice, because if you bend down, you come up, you can hit the chalice. And if you hit the chalice, I've seen this before, it's happened to me, the person hits the chalice by accident, the communion spills onto the priest or spills out of the chalice onto the ground. So we should be very careful that we should do any kind of crosses or metania or prostrations far enough away before we approach the chalice. And when we approach the chalice, our hands should either be down or they should be crossed, so that we do not hit anything in this area. And of course, we open our mouths wide, not small, because again, if our mouth is not open wide, it's difficult for the priest to get it in. And again, things might fall, and that's dangerous as well. So we should open wide. The priest will give us communion. We should close our mouth and take it just like we're eating soup or any other kind of food. And then the priest might, the altar server might wipe our lips a little bit if there's anything on there, and then we continue on and take the andidero, the bread. And so it's so important that when we're coming up for Holy Communion that we are respectful, we are reverent, and also that we do not hit the chalice in any way, that we do our crosses far away and then approach and open our mouths and receive the Holy Communion with reverence, and then do our cross as we leave. So again, these things are there to kind of help protect both the Holy Communion and also not to have it spill anywhere. If it falls on a carpet, then the priest, we need to cut out the carpet and burn it. If it falls on somebody's clothing, we need to take that clothing and burn it, and then we have to buy them a new coat or a new shirt. So there's all these kind of problematic situations that happen when we are not careful and Holy Communion spills in different places, because we cannot just have the body and blood of Christ, like, sitting on somebody's clothing, putting back into the closet, or, in any other mundane place. We have to be very careful for those things. So again, this is just something that somebody had asked me, what is the appropriate way? So be calm, be patient, be prayerful when you're coming up to receive Holy Communion. Make sure you do your cross or any prostrations far enough away before that final approach, Make sure that your hands are away from the chalice when you receive Holy Communion. Make sure your mouth is open wide, and be respectful, and not be afraid to wipe your mouth on the cloth at the end if you feel there's anything there. Of course, the altar boy or the priest will see this as well and will act appropriately. So this is just kind of the practical way that we should be receiving Holy Communion. I hope this is helpful for everybody, and I do hope that it answers at least this particular question that was asked. That's all for today. Till next time, take care and God bless.